Back with another episode, Supriya Chechi, and we're continuing the 11th chapter, verse 31.
Right.
Hare Krishna, Supriya Chechi, and
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
rather, I'll just do the incantation.
Invocation. Sure.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिकांध राधाकांध नमोस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुत देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य शतारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्रीवसादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधवा कुंजा बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवारधारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवारधारी यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी
Okay. Hare Krishna.
कृष्ण
And Jai Srila Prabhupada. We are now on verse 31. There is a total of 55 verses in this chapter. So we are like somewhere in the middle. And the last two verses have lengthy purports. Whereas these are short translation, sometimes no purport at all. And we are resuming today from verse 31. So verse
oh
31 is still Arjuna expressing his confusion and bewilderment. Is what we talked about, a different ras, one of the secondary rasas or bhavas. It's not one of the primary ones. Earlier he was in Sakhya ras with Lord Krishna, but now he's in what's called Adbhuta, wonder, or Vivatsa, which is a combination of wonder, astonishment, a bit of fear, and so on. So he's saying here in verse 31, shall we chant the verse together?
yeah आख्यायी मे को भवान् उग्ररूपो नमोऽस्तु ते देववरा प्रसिद्धा विज्ञातुम् इच्छामि भवन्तम् आद्यम् न हि प्रजानामि तव प्रवृत्तम्
Twice more.
आख्यायी मे को भवान् उग्ररूपो नमोऽस्तु ते देववरा प्रसिद्धा विज्ञातुम् इच्छामि भवन्तम् आद्यम् न हि प्रजानामि तव प्रवृत्तिम्
Once more.
आख्यायी मे को भवान् उग्ररूपो नमोऽस्तु ते देववरा प्रसिद्धा विज्ञातुम् इच्छामि भवन्तम् आद्यम् न हि प्रजानामि तव प्रवृत्तिम्
Okay, translation here, O Lord of Lords, so fierce a form, please tell me who you are. I offer my obeisances unto you. Please be gracious to me. You are the primal Lord. I want to know about you, for I do not know what your mission is. Just look at that. Krishna, Arjuna, of course, knows that Krishna is his friend and cousin and the Supreme Personality, but he's become so bewildered temporarily that he's asking, I want to know who you are and what is your mission, what is your purpose in taking on such a fierce form, such a fierce and frightening form. And now Krishna is going to answer. In the next few verses, Krishna is going to give a reply to this question by Arjuna. Shri Bhagavan
Sri Bhagavan
Vacha. Vacha.
Sri Bhagavan Vacha Kalosmi Lokakshaya Krit Pravrito Lokan Samahatum Iha Pravritaha Ritepi Dvam na bhavishyanti
Bhavishyanti
sarve
sarve
ye
ye astita
vasitaha prati
pratyakeshu.
anikeshu yodaha.
Again.
Sri Bhagavan Vacha
Vacha Kalo
Kalosmi Lokakshaya Krit
Krit
Pravrito
Pravrito Loka
Lokan Samhartum Iha
Samartum Pravrita
Pravritaha
Rite
Ritepi Tvam na
Tvam
bhavishyanti
Bhavishanti
sarve ये
Stita.
वस्तिताः प्रति अनिकेषु योधाः.
Once more. Sri Bhagavan Vacha
श्रीभगवानुवाच कालोऽस्मि
Krit
लोकक्षयाकृत्प्रवृद्धो
Prito Loka
लोकान् संहर्तुम् इह
Samartumiha
प्रवृत्ताः
Pravrita
ऋतेऽपि
Rite
त्वं न
Amna
भविष्यन्ति
Bhavishanti
सर्वे
Sarve
ये स्थिताः प्रति अनिकेषु योधाः.
Translation. Can you read the translation and the purport, please?
Yeah, translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, time I am the great destroyer of the worlds, and I have come here to destroy all people. With the exception of you, the Pandavas, all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain.
Okay.
Uh,
Powerful translation, powerful reply, because time I am the great destroyer of the worlds. So simply by waiting for time to pass, each and everything gets destroyed when its time comes. So it's not as if physically Krishna has to go around beating and bashing and destroying things. It's just that because he is time. Time is Krishna. Kalosmi. Kalosmi loka kshaya krit pravriddho. So naturally, as time passes, like we know, whether it's material objects, whether it's us human beings, when our time is up, we are destroyed. Okay, please read the purport.
yeah. Purport, although Arjuna knew that Krishna was his friend and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was puzzled by the various forms exhibited by Krishna. Therefore, he asked further about the actual mission of this devastating force. It is written in the Vedas that the supreme truth destroys everything, even the Brahmanas. As stated in the Kathopanishad, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 25, Yasya Brahma cha Shatram
Shat
cha
Ubhe.
Ube Bhavata Odanaha Mrityuryasyo
Yes.
Pasheche Chanam Ka Itha Veda Yatra Saha.
Yatra saha. Yeah.
Eventually, all the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and everyone else are devoured like a meal by the Supreme. This form of the Supreme Lord is the all devouring giant, and here Krishna presents himself in that form of all devouring time. Except for a few Pandavas, everyone who was present on that battlefield would be devoured by him. Arjuna was not in favor of the fight, and he thought it was better not to fight. Then there would be no frustration. In reply, the Lord is saying that even if he did not fight, every one of them would be destroyed, for that was his plan. If Arjuna stopped fighting, they would die in another way. Death could not be checked even if he did not fight. In fact, they were already dead. Time is destruction, and all manifestations are to be vanquished by the desire of the Supreme Lord. That is the law of nature.
Okay, and basically the Lord who decides when who should die. And if the Lord decides to protect, then no amount of inimical or enemy forces and no amount of harm can bring about the death of a person. Because if the Lord has decided that it is not yet time for him to be destroyed. On the contrary, people who are under a lot of protection and their death is least expected. But if it's really time is up for them, then their death does occur. And you often hear of people who met, like, with seven times major accidents, and each time they survive. I heard of a story like that. And they said it's like a cat that has 7 or 9 lives. They just come back each time, because clearly his lifespan is not over, and until that is over, that soul remains in the body. So eventually
That
all the Brahmana, Kshatriyas, yeah, you were going to ask something?
uh no, actually, like on that, like I have one of my
Question?
like uncles. He had his he told me like once his father, when he was, I think, passing away or something,
Uh-huh.
he or when people thought that he was passing away, but like he came back.
Uh-huh.
And like I'll tell you I'll tell you the name of the person later on, but he came back, and then later on he said that he saw, like, he could see some light or something like that, and then he could see, like, some something glowing, some light, and then he came back from, like, he was almost gonna pass away, but then he came back after that, and he could see, like, this was like our relatives in Chennai, I'm not sure if you
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
So like he was saying, like, to the point you were saying, I think they survived many times, that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
close
Yeah,
encounters.
but so this person, basically, you're meaning, what was the death, near death, what was it due to?
It was normal conditions only, but he kind of survived that. He kind
He,
of came
he
back
was
from
aged, meaning he was an
age,
aged
yeah,
person,
age person. So he kind
and
of, yeah,
but he survived it, and like survived it for many years after that, or what?
I think a few years, I think, after that, and
Okay.
then he passed away. So he is like, but my uncle was telling me, so he was like, Ramesh Vaman, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so he's talking about his father basically. So he was saying
Okay.
that,
Right.
and so yeah, Ramesh Vaman, if you're listening, I don't know. So I said the story, but yeah, like yeah. So he was telling about that whole incident and stuff. So I've always actually remembered that, because I was like, um,
Oh,
that's
it must
interesting. I've
be
never
interesting.
had
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I never had that kind of like somebody like who goes and then is like almost comes back or something like
But
that.
if you go on the net, there are so many such near death. It's called near death experiences, out of the body experiences, where it's like they can tell you they come back, like you said, and they say that they can even see, like if it's an operation going on in a hospital. One or two cases were like that. They were their memory, they remember that they were like in a position looking down on their own body. So what does it indicate? That basically that soul had moved out and then moved back in. Now why and how do these things happen is beyond us to explain. And if these are true accounts, it just proves at least this much, that there is a soul that moves out of the body, moves into another body. Because this person is saying very clearly, he can even tell, he could even repeat the movements of, if they say that they just repeat the conversation they overheard, one could always argue that the anesthesia had not worked properly, so the person was conscious during the surgery. But they, from their position, they are saying then this doctor handed this and then said something and then they handed something else. So if they could see all that from there, this must have been a genuine experience and an account. So these are near death, out of this body experiences. The internet has got so many such examples. And well, Krishna is in control, and Krishna decides when and what. Oh yeah, there are people who will tell you their mother was about to pass away and they prayed desperately because it was an untimely death, and Lord Narsingadev or whoever is they were praying to heard that prayer, and miraculously, when they took a scan, the tumor, whatever it was not to be found in the body. I have heard of such. The person was close to death, and then they make a recovery. So the doctor says, okay, let's take another scan to see if we should go ahead with that surgery, which we cut short. And then they find that the tumor itself has gone. So I've heard these are, it's not just in ISKCON, but outside ISKCON also. So fate can move mountains, but it's ultimately up to Krishna to decide how much time he gives to each soul and why, and we have to accept that it is for a better purpose, for a higher reason.
the verse also is I'm not sure if you see recently there was this movie called Oppenheimer that came out, right?
Oppenheimer, yeah, yeah, controversial,
That
yeah,
that movie he is basically like quotes this verse
yeah,
in
I
that
know. It's made
in
so much
that
controversy, yeah.
yeah. So but also I think like from a like not from like maybe a Krishna Bhakti perspective,
Yeah,
people will probably use this verse and be like time
just,
like justify like the destruction of
yeah, yeah.
uh, things or like in the case of Oppenheimer, he created the nuclear bomb. So so he kind of some people are saying like he by using this verse he's like justifying the fact that that he created the nuclear bomb because he was a lot of people were getting after him because he created the bomb and
So
there are a lot
much
of people
destruction and
much
suffering.
destruction or something so
Yeah.
he had to go through all of that and apparently he used to read the Bhagavad Gita and he quoted this verse and in his mind it's like oh justification of like the destruction basically but yeah but it's just
So
saying
that,
that that anything that happens like time is the ultimate destroyer not the person
no,
or
but
whoever else or
yeah,
I don't
time
know.
is the ultimate destroyer. That's true. But in this case, I think it seems he's very much taking advantage and justifying it is. But the same Bhagavad Gita talks of demonic forces, people with demonic natures who desire and put their mind and intelligence to and create weapons of mass destruction. Eventually, they get the fame or the notoriety for having created this. So the same 16th chapter also talks about this,
Mm,
about really demonic individuals born in the human race. So it's he can't just completely kind of get away from responsibility for the mass destruction that he so carefully planned and created or invented. But at the same time, the people who decide to use these bombs for stupid ego fights, geographical boundaries, my country, your country, line of control, you breached and come over to my side. This is very, very petty minded leaders who are temporarily there in that position of power. They take decisions that destroy and affect the lives of thousands and millions. So they will also get the karma. It's not just Oppenheimer. They will take the karma for so much kind of destruction that's going on in this world. And eventually, I mean, what you have to take shelter of, as Krishna is really saying, Dukhale Mashashvatam. And not only just that it's all the time dukham and people are sitting and weeping, not like that. What's a more interesting verse is, rather than a verse, it's a line that comes up in purports frequently, that this world is such a type, material world is such a place where perplexities, we get perplexed and complications arise even though you don't do anything to desire it or to bring it about. All the time new complications and perplexities. Just now I was on the phone with a colleague who teaches in the Mayapur Institute. She is in Australia with her husband. They went to give support to their daughter who had lost a job. Her husband, newly married, but the husband developed some illness and was back in India taking a cure. Some surgery was required for some abscess he developed. So the daughter went back, but though she went back, she lost her job. She's not able to get another job. She's a qualified girl, lady. Then on top of that, the house that they were living in, she's been given notice because they are selling that house. So she was in a desperate situation, no job, no roof over her head, not able to find another. So her parents, that is my colleague and my colleague Padma's husband, they went there, they flew there. 2 months. The idea being that just see her through all this. Somehow they also try and locate and help her find a job and help her find another place. Now what happens? It's the other hemisphere, right? It's not this hemisphere. So if
mm,
it's not now, it's very cold there and there is snow there. So apparently my colleague's husband has not seen snow because they were in the Gulf for many years. And she has been to the Himalayas, so she's seen at least I see mountain tops, but he hadn't. So he was keen, and they went up to a mountain so that they could actually walk in the snow. And the people at the information center, you had to buy a ticket to be able to do whatever skiing and so on, warned them that skiing is different, they do not buggy, what is it called, sledge riding is different, but you're trying to walk in snow, be very careful. Your foot, even with the snow boots, can get stuck in the snow. Now she didn't grasp the full import of what that man was warning, and she's within 5 minutes her foot got stuck. She panicked. It's like your foot getting stuck with glue. She tried to lift her foot and her ankle just fractured. Just
Oh.
that simple step. She's not such a heavy built woman or anything. So it's not the way.
She wore boots or like or bare feet
No,
or
bare feet. All the proper
all
snow
boots.
snow
Okay, okay.
equipment, snow boots, fur boots, whatever. Everything was in place. But despite that, the people told her, because you see, you put your foot into snow, then very quickly that snow solidifies. This is what happens. This is why you think it's nice, soft, powdery snow, but something is happening with the temperature all the time. And you put your foot and within seconds around it, ice
It
can
is
form.
thick.
That's why it gets
Yeah.
stuck. And she, although they had warned her, she said in 5 minutes this happened, and they didn't tell her what she should do in that situation. So her immediate response was basically to try to pull that foot out. And at the ankle, multiple fracture, the ankle just cracked like eggshell. And she was taken straight within 15 minutes. She was taken to the medical center. Then she was, I think, airlifted. I don't know what they did. And they brought her down to a Melbourne hospital where she's been stuck 2 months. And now for so many 6 weeks, that leg can't take any weight. So it's her daughter who has to do everything. Daughter and husband are helping her. And she says the whole plan has gone berserk. The plan was to go and help her daughter. Instead, they ended up in a much worse situation. She can't return for Janmashtami. She was very keen to go back to Mayapur. That's well settled. She's a South Indian from Chennai. But was something I did with my book.
Mm, I think, Supriya, I think
Is
you're
it something I place my
like I think your like screen is frozen.
is it the book?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
his screen is frozen. Yeah, now it's
but I can see myself. It's okay.
yeah, like in my screen, like
There's black.
your no, it's just it's like got stuck. Your face is like got stuck, so it's not moving basically. So I'm not sure.
Uh-huh.
Is it the internet connection or something?
I place. It's not an issue because I just placed my heavy Bhagavad Gita on the keyboard on the touchpad.
Oh, okay. Um, I'm not sure why. Okay, because if the screen is frozen basically, so uh, can you hear can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
I
hear
can
you.
hear you.
Should I
Okay.
log out and come back?
Yeah, I think you'll have to do that, I think. Just yeah, just try to log out and come back then. See. I think now it's but it's moving very
Is it
slowly.
okay now?
No, it's moving very slowly. Um okay, can you I think maybe you can just try logging out and logging back in. Please. See. Yeah,
Can you hear now?
yeah, I can hear you. It's just that your video is moving like very slow. I think now it's fine, I think. But yeah, now it's fine. Now it's fine. Now it's fine.
Shall we just carry on as long as the
Yeah, yeah.
audio is going okay?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm just saying that this world, this material world, it's like such a perplexing place because despite your best intentions, you make a slight mistake and I mean, your whole plan in her case, it's now the topsy-turvy. It's instead of they're helping the daughter has to do things for her. She can't return to India. They've incurred more expense. So basically, it just goes to show Krishna is in control. Whether it takes the universal form to be displayed to show Arjuna that Krishna is in control. He's got his own plan. Better to do what he's asking, that is to fight the war. Because whether Arjuna fights or not, Krishna is going to. He is like a not a like a prognosis or a projection into the future. It is that all these people who were seen flying into Krishna's, the Lord's mouth, are anyway destined to die. So whether Arjuna agrees to fight and be the instrument of their death or not, their death is assured. So really, basically, Krishna is in control and just do what he wants us to do. Okay?
Okay.
Questions?
No, apart from that, no, nothing. Just, yeah, I think, yeah, we can move on from there actually.
Right. So we are, Ravi, okay.
30, we finished 32, no? So 33 we have to go.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 33. Tasmatvam
Tasmat tvam
uttam
utishta yasho
uttishtayesh
labhasva
labhasya jiva
jitva
shatru
satrun bhungshva rajyam
rajam
samridham
samriddham
maye
mayai
pate
vaite
nihata
nihata
purvam eva nimitta matram bhava
nimittam
savyasachin
sabyasachi. Again.
tasmat tvam
Tasmat
utishta
tvamuttishta
yasho
yasho
labhasva
labhasya
jitva
jitva
satrun
shatru
bhukshva rajayam samridham
samriddham
माये वैते
vaite
निहाता
nihata
पूर्वमेव मित्तामात्रं
Nimittam
भव सव्यसचिन्
Savyasachin. Nimitta matram. Nimitta means an instrument. Just be an instrument. Only an instrument. Nimitta matram. Like in Malayalam, idu matram jedamadi. Okay. Tasmatvam
तस्मात् त्वम् उत्तिष्ठ
uttishta
याशो लभास्व
yasholabhasya jitva
जित्वा शत्रून्
shatru
पुङ्क्ष्व
bhungsha
राजयं समृदम् माये वैते निहताः पूर्वमेव मित्तमात्रं भव सव्यसचिन्
Right? Therefore, get up, prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Sabyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. Again, like a very valuable point he is making here, Lord Krishna. You can only Your role is just to be an instrument in plans as they're unfolding. Sabyasachi, another name for Arjuna, because he's
expert
ambidextrous, meaning
expert
expert, especially in as an archer. There in the purport we are told. Yeah, please read the purport.
Yeah, Savyasachin refers to one who can shoot arrows very expertly in the field. Thus, Arjuna is addressed as an expert warrior capable of delivering arrows to kill his enemies. Just become an instrument. Nimitta matram. This word is also very significant. The whole world is moving according to the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Foolish persons who do not have sufficient knowledge think that nature is moving without a plan and all manifestations are but accidental formations. There are many so called scientists who suggest that perhaps it was like this or maybe like that. But there is no question of perhaps and maybe. There is a specific plan being carried out in this material world. What is this plan? This cosmic manifestation is a chance for the conditioned souls to go back to Godhead, back to home. As long as they have the domineering mentality which makes them try to lord it over material nature, they are conditioned. But anyone who can understand the plan of the Supreme Lord and cultivate Krishna consciousness is most intelligent. The creation and destruction of the cosmic manifestation are under the superior guidance of God. Thus, the battle of Kurukshetra was fought according to the plan of God. Arjuna was refusing to fight, but he was told that he should fight in accordance with the desire of the Supreme Lord. Then he would be happy. if one is in full Krishna consciousness and his life is devoted to the Lord's transcendental service, he is perfect.
Okay, just become an instrument. Word is very significant. The whole world is moving according to the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This can easily be misunderstood and misused because all the evil we see around us, we could just take a position that it's anyway happening according to the plan of the Supreme Lord. Why should we intervene and obstruct? Why should we come to this rescue of the victim? One could say these kind of things, but it has to be balanced out with the understanding that however the living entity has a little bit of free will, and that little bit of free will is can be used by him or her to save himself or to destroy himself. So you can't do some heinous act, some terrible crime, or assist someone else to do that crime and say anyway everything is happening according to Lord Krishna. It's not, it doesn't work like that. You have to use your independent, thoughtful understanding of Krishna's instructions and of the Lord's instructions in the various shastras so conveyed to us through society and decent family upbringing, so that we know what are the rules, we obey the rules, and we know you get reaction whether from society and civil law if you do criminal things, or else even if you escape that, you are invariably in this life or another life that karmic reaction is going to catch up with you. Now if you understand things even better and see yourself as just a instrument, that's even more wonderful. Not in evil things happening, but if something very positive, you see the larger picture instead of getting a inflated idea of your role in it. If you can see that you're just having a small role to play and you're bringing about certain events according to a bigger design or plan, then that's the perfect position for a devotee,
Hmm.
because it helps us to stay humble. It helps us to be aware that we have only a very small role to play. It
There's
prevents us from over dominating. Yes.
there's that sorry to interrupt. Actually, there was this I think I told you about a podcast, right? About like in the
Yeah.
modern yogi. So there they were talking about like they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
going
Yeah. Who are?
there.
Sorry, excuse me,
So
but who are these ladies? I've yet
so
not had time.
their
Do you remember
name
it?
is what is, I think they one of them is Shamala Shama Sundari, I think, and Priyadarshini, I think.
And from which
They're
center is this coming? Is this New York Bhakti Center?
I not sure exactly where it is. I think it must be Los Angeles, I think. I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay, go on.
So
Carry
basically,
on.
like they were saying, they were like discussing the Gita and all that, and they were going through the second chapter, and they were talking about this point, like because the second chapter talks a lot about the soul and how
Right.
we are like you can destroy the body, but you can't really destroy the soul. The soul is eternal. Like that's fundamentally what in the second chapter they're discussing, and
Yeah.
um so yeah, like coming to this point, that we were discussing about how the Krishna is telling Arjuna, in this whole yeah, in basically in this purport or in this place here, he's telling him to fight
Uh-huh.
basically, right? So in that
Right.
part, he's like you're an instrument of you're just an instrument of my of what's going to happen, like of something that's already happened. You're just an instrument of it. So he's already explained to him that that you're not like you're just the soul, you're not the body in the second chapter itself. So
Uh-huh.
for Arjuna, he's already like you know what's the word, like he already knows that
Knows.
um
Yeah.
I mean he already knows that that there is no need to lament for what's happening
Sure.
or what about the family on the other side or this that and all that stuff. He's already aware of that.
Right.
But then also again, like Krishna's telling him, like again he's reminding him in one sense, that or he's
Yeah.
going back to that same point of like, because even in the second chapter he tells Arjuna that you should fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just get up and fight, because you're just the soul, you're not the body. And even in the
Right.
11th chapter here also he's saying the same thing, like telling him to
Right. Right.
again fight. So
Right.
in both those instances, like Krishna is like almost trying to make like convince him that that you're looking at it from like a very external point of view. Like
Right.
looking at it from you're not looking at it from the bigger scheme. Like Arjuna is looking at it only still from the point of view of his family and the people on the other side of the battlefield, and
Right.
what are the immediate consequences of the situation. Like if he wins the war, he can't enjoy it, and if he
Right.
loses the war, like well, it's like he's not doing his duty in one
Right.
sense.
As a
So
Kshatriya.
as
Yeah.
a Kshatriya, so in all the different ways, like Krishna's like trying to like basically say the same point, but like
Right.
trying to convince him in that same way. So if like it's interesting because we are in the 11th chapter, and he's still
At
telling
the
Arjuna
same
like
point.
fight.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
he's still telling Arjuna just get up and fight and do this and all.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an interesting point that starting from the second chapter, the same point is being, if you like, repeated or dinned into Arjuna to
Hmm.
get him to do what he anyway has to do, what he's reluctant to do. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but in a house where a death has occurred, and at least in Hindu households, where if the body is lying, it's the second chapter that is chanted for
Oh,
obvious reasons.
huh.
The
Hmm.
obvious reasons, they don't bother with the translation. Unfortunately, it's a translation that the people sitting around mourning need to hear, but they just chant the whole second chapter from beginning to end. You call a pujari, purohit, devotees to come, this is what they will do, because it's about the soul trying to inform those who don't know and who are lamenting. Lamentation will carry on because of naturally affection and attachment. And but to say that it is the body is gone but that soul is still eternal and it's moved on its onward journey. So the second chapter that way, though it's so large and so long at 72
I
verses.
actually
Yeah.
also I just thought of another question now. When you mentioned that that the pujari is called, I was
Yeah.
listening to the podcast in, I think it was Wisdom of Sages only, where
Yeah.
they were making this point that like I think Lord Chaitanya says it somewhere that there's an some there's one verse, right, where he says like if you're whether you're a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or whoever, as
Yeah.
long as you
Yeah. Yeah.
chant
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
there's a verse that
Kiba
I think I'm not.
Vipra
Kiba
Kiba
Vipra, yeah,
Nyasi Kiba,
yeah,
that
that was,
verse. Yeah.
yeah. So in that,
Whether you're a
yeah,
Brahmin, whether you're a sannyasi, whatever be the case, yeah, go on. Bhakti is
so
available to you. The
in
Lord,
that
that's
sense,
the
in that sense, is there a need, like, I don't know, this might sound, I don't know, like bad or not, but is there a need like for a pujari to in that
yeah.
in a
No, now it's okay. Go on. It's all
yeah,
being done because
yeah,
you're
go ahead.
carry on now. Speak.
Yeah, I can, yeah, I can, I think I can hear you. Oh, yeah, I think I can screen, I think, like
Yeah.
slightly. Yeah, I think just go, you can speak, I think, yeah. Uh, oh,
Yeah.
I can't hear
No.
you.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
what is the point?
So,
What is the point you're making?
no, so I was saying that like in this, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that, anybody can be a guru as long as you are chanting or as long as you have knowledge about, you know, love of God, love of Krishna,
That's
whatever.
right. That's the verse. It's not
So,
about Bhakti. Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi. Correct. Anyone can be a guru.
so yeah, so in that sense, like I was always like I wonder sometimes like is it necessary like in that case, like if you do have that, is it necessary to like have a pujari and perform rites? Is it possible? Can you do it on your own? Like is that is what I want to know.
You can't do it on your own unless you have actually trained to do it,
Okay.
isn't it? You have to have some training. Now, Pujari doesn't. Yeah, there has to be. It's not just some hocus pocus. There are things. There are like rights. You can't. You can ask. Do you really need to have a cook? You can just go and do it on your own. Yeah, sure. If you know cooking. Otherwise, what results are you going to get? Isn't it?
Hmm.
That's the reason why we get someone who is a qualified pujari, hopefully, to do the needful.
Okay. Good. I think your screen is again frozen. uh,
Really?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's again frozen. I'm not sure why it's. Um,
My internet is on. It is, that's all in place.
Like your
My
audio is
voice is getting across.
audio is working fine. It's just that the
Yeah.
screen now is like frozen. That's the only thing. Not sure why that is the case.
See, I don't know what's happening, but let's just forget about it and
Okay.
shall we carry on?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I'm
sure.
just little nervous about signing out and
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. I
yeah,
think
in
yeah,
case
it
it
should.
gets worse.
I think it should be. It should. I think now it's fine. I think. I think now it's okay. So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right. So therefore, we told just be like a Nimitta Matram and get up and fight. Uh, okay, verse 34.
yeah.
Now just note that now because the verses are of have gone back to their original length, you will see the sentences. We are going back to the original meter or tune in which we were chanting the Bhagavad Gita until recently. Just see.
Okay.
Dronam cha
Dronam cha Bhishmam cha Jayadrattam cha
Bhishmam cha Karnam
Karanam Tatanyan api Yodaviran Maya
Maya
Hatam Tvam
Svam
Jahima Vyatishta
Yadishta
Yudhya
Yudhyas
Swadetasi
Jetas
Rane Sapatnan
Dronam
Dronam cha
cha
Bhishmam
Bhishmam
cha Jayadratam
Yadritam
cha
Karnam
Karanam Tatanyan api Yodaviran
An
Maya Hatam
Atam
Tvam Jahima Vyatishta Yudhyasva
Jetas
jetasi rane sapatnan
Dronam
Dronam cha
cha
Bhishmam
Bhishmam
cha Jayadratam cha
Yadratam cha
Karanam
Karnam
tatanyan
Tatanyan
api yodaviran
Apyan
Maya hatam
Mahatam
svam
Svam
jahima vyatishta
Vyatishta
Yudhyasva
Jetas
jetasi rane
Rani
sapatan.
Sapan. Okay. Translation. Please read.
Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, Karna, and the other great warriors have already been destroyed by me. Therefore, kill them and do not be disturbed. Simply fight, and you will vanquish your enemies in battle.
Right. It's plain speak from Lord Krishna. No, it's just plain speak. He's telling him
Yeah.
the basic facts. Every plan is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but He is so kind and merciful to His devotees that He wants to give the credit to His devotees who carry out His plan according to His desire. Uh-huh. Life should therefore move in such a way that everyone acts in Krishna consciousness and understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium of a spiritual master. The plans of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are understood by His mercy, and the plans of the devotees are as good as His plans. One should follow such plans and be victorious in the struggle for existence. Meaning to say that since the devotees are doing everything very properly and are familiar with the instructions and striving to work according to the instructions of the Lord under the guidance of a spiritual master who's like an intermediary. Therefore, the plans that devotees make are as good as the plans of the Lord. And when those plans actually work out or meet or bear fruit or meet with success, the Lord doesn't take the credit for it. The Lord gives the credit to the devotees. One should follow such plans and be victorious in the struggle for existence. Again, struggle for existence is so true. It's not a struggle just meaning for your next meal. There are thousands and hundreds and thousands of people in that position, but even if that is ensured, your meal and a roof over your head and like parental and family support, even so it really is such a struggle for existence. Every day brings new news that is disheartening and worrying, and new complications and new perplexities and new challenges, not to mention age and time that's passing. So this be victorious in the struggle. One should follow such plans and be victorious in the struggle for existence. Again, this is Srila Prabhupada, so direct. And what he's saying, I mean, if only we could actually just simply do that, we would be in such a good position. The plans of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are understood by His mercy, right? This is also so full of meaning. Sometimes we can't understand what does Krishna want? Why has He put me in this position? We often hear this kind of rant. ranting and raving that why is he after everything? What does he want? The plans can be understood only by his mercy, and the plans of the devotees are as good as his plans. One should follow such plans and be victorious in the struggle for existence. Okay, see, although it is just a small purport, there are 3-4 very good points. That he is so kind and merciful, that he wants to give the credit to his devotees who carry out his plan. He doesn't want the credit for himself. Then it's about what his plans are understood only if he gives you the mercy. Do we get the buddhi or the brain to figure out why is this happening to me? Otherwise, it's very easy to go in two directions. One is, of course, especially where families where things, a lot of challenges come. I've known families where a lot of people died untimely, prematurely due to cancer. So the survivor, who is a friend of mine, who's my age, her approach is just enjoy and enjoy and enjoy, because you never know when that same fate will befall her. On the other hand, there's another person who's not a friend of mine, but who lives in those same flats, who also had very difficult life circumstances, in the sense she lost her mother when she was young. Now she's a grown woman with 2 adult children. And most unfortunately, theirs was a very happy family, but the husband suddenly got snatched away in a road accident. He was in the railway police force, and they were in Hyderabad. And it was not even during on duty that he died. One of his nieces had eloped with some very unsuitable character. So he was speeding in a jeep. I don't know whether he was speeding or whether there was a driver next to him who was, who did it. He was very much a person with strong family values, and he felt if the marriage could be prevented, because the niece had eloped, if somehow, maybe from a different faith or community, not too sure. Anyway, he was not suitable in any way. So she was speeding, and he thought if somehow that they could catch up with the niece and prevent a marriage, then from then on they would be able to retrieve the situation. But once a marriage took place, it would be very hard. In the process, there was a terrible accident. The man died. So now this lady, incidentally, both the ladies are named Usha. Both live in the building nearby. So there's one who is conclusion she's reached is that she just enjoys from, not in a sinful way, but just live life to the full, because she doesn't know when that same fate that has befallen most of her. The other one who had some share of tragedy when she was young, and then this husband also goes and dies. It's just been 2 years. But she has thrown herself into social service. And she started a group called Blood for Life. Somehow she's got a social network through which anybody who needs blood, whichever type, A type, B type, so on, she will arrange. She has donors, blood donors, donors for in financial terms. Somebody doesn't have a cot, someone, the sea eroded and came in and washed away their hutment. She makes all arrangements. And now she's got a team. So she's thrown herself into it. Why? Because obviously both people have been impacted in some way by the way things worked out in their destiny. One went in one direction, which is basically to just make the most and be happy before, the worst happens. The other one is trying to live life at a deeper level. She's trying to find more meaning in life by making herself useful and her resources, because she's from a wealthy background. She doesn't need to hold a job to maintain this lifestyle. She's trying to make herself useful to society at large and to the really needy and the poor and the sick and the ailing. So it's interesting to watch how people tackle. Both are religious in their own ways. The second one is extra religious. I mean, she's very much believes in God and God's will and God's plans, and she's understood, or at least this is what she says, though her sorrow may be deep and private, she keeps it private. Her point is that obviously Krishna, God, yes, I think she's also a Krishna follower. She gave us a nice Krishna painting when we moved in here, that he had a different plan for her. The plan was not for her to be happy with a very suitable husband and 2 children. She's doing all those duties. Children are getting located, positioned into higher studies and job and so on. But basically she thinks God's plan is for her to become like an instrument for use to the poor and the needy. Yeah. So it's that free will is ours. how we respond to the things, the bigger things that happen.
Like
That free will is, yeah,
18
how we
chapter,
react. Yeah,
18 chapter text. Which one is it? Text 68 or something, right? Or
yeah,
63.
yeah.
He
Why?
said, Krishna says, no, about it's up to you to decide what you want to do in the end
Right.
of, in
After
the end
making
of,
clear everything.
af- after hearing it. But also, yeah, this also answers the question of like, why do bad things happen to good people, or,
Right,
in that sense. It's like the Krishna is giving you the autonomy to like do what you want to do in one
right.
sense.
Exactly, exactly.
And also, I had this like thought recently. Like I was just thinking about something like just a couple of days back. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Like I also wanted to share it with you. But like I
Yeah,
was thinking about this thought of like free will only. I was thinking about, and like okay, like on one hand, like the free will is because Krishna is giving the autonomy. Then why
yeah,
does he give it? Because the goal is, in one sense, to get back to Krishna or get back to Godhead or get back to that, or go back to, I mean, basically go back to Krishna's pastimes or, that love.
yeah.
And the
No,
thing
you'll
is,
have to repeat that because your voice.
can you hear me now? Uh,
Yeah, but your
yeah.
voice got broken in between.
Okay.
So I didn't hear the story. Whatever it is you were making, I didn't hear that.
Oh,
Yeah, go on.
so yeah, I was just saying that. So when it comes to this, like the idea of like, the goal is like, to love Krishna and to go back to Godhead. That's the basic goal. And so
Yeah,
I was thinking like, so why are we doing it? Why is Krishna doing, like, if Krishna is like seeing the plight of all the people who are suffering, and he's seeing everybody,
yeah,
why does he put the conditioned souls into that sort of state in the first place? And in my mind, I was trying to understand this, and like, I mean, there's obviously the story of how Krishna is like, he's like, he doesn't have, or he's not able to, like, in one sense, like, he wants, like, he's nothing more in this existence that Krishna is loves more than seeing his devotees love him, or he doesn't understand that
right,
that's
sure.
that that aspect of love, or that's why he descends as, in the past times as Krishna and all that, so that he can enjoy himself as a devotee in one sense or something like that.
No, what do you mean he
So
doesn't understand that aspect of love?
so
What?
so
Who doesn't
as in,
understand that aspect?
like, in the sense of Krishna, like, there's this, I don't know if it's in this past time, this the I'm actually not saying it correctly, but just the thing is like the whole Gopi pastime, for example. In that Gopi pastime,
Yes,
he's trying to be like a devotee, like he's trying to, like, he descends and, uh, to as a devotee in one sense, to kind of like see how it feels like to love Krishna, or like as a
yeah,
Gopi,
yeah.
something like that, right? I think
That is, that is really, that is not in the Gopi pastime. That is Chaitanya
that
Mahaprabhu
is
himself who comes
Chaitanya
down to
itself
taste.
comes
It
around,
is Chaitanya
tastes the.
Mahaprabhu
Okay,
takes the role of a devotee to
got it, got it.
taste what is this love that people are feeling, his devotees are feeling for him.
So I
You
mean,
see,
could
he
that be?
tastes,
Yeah.
takes birth as a great devotee of Lord Jagannath and of the Lord, and then goes into ecstasy and so on. After all, he is born to a Brahmin family in Navadvip.
Family.
Yeah, it is not the gopis, it is Lord Chaitanya,
Gopis.
Chaitanya
Okay, Lord
Mahaprabhu.
Chaitanya. Got it, got
Yeah,
it. So
okay.
in that connection, like, could that be the reason why, like, um he creates the living entities? Is that possibly a reason? Like, because he wants to, like, he wants to see who, like, how that, the devotion, he wants to experience that loving devotion for himself, or is that, could that be the
Uh,
reason?
yeah, no, we are all here because we asked to work independently from him, and also because to give us a taste of this material prison so that we get so fed up that we just don't want to be here and we want to go back to the spiritual world. That's why we are here. Now, meanwhile, while he is here, naturally there are amongst us, there will be different grades of people with different levels of commitment and loyalty and love for the Lord. That's natural, isn't it? Because depending on past activities, past lives, and so on. Now, why he comes down here? Definitely, he needs a place, but that is those dhams that he creates. It's not the miserable material world. It is the that is Vrindavan Dham in Tiruvananthapuram, where he comes as a deity, incarnates, comes in response to the Jagannath Puri Dham, Mayapur Dham, and so many more, where he comes in response to the frantic prayers of a devotee in some situation. There he comes basically, as you say, to receive the emotions
Mhm.
and feelings of the different devotees. But the miserable material world, which he is responsible for creating, and we are responsible for finding ourselves back here. It's like, say, you fail in school, right? We failed. We are stuck, or we I have not heard of
We
demotion.
don't
Yeah, we are
we
back
don't
in that.
proceed. Yeah,
Yeah,
we don't.
why is the school set up? Why is that school carrying on, and why does it allow us to continue though we didn't pass and go to the next class? It's because it is it is giving us an opportunity, a chance to repeat, to do one more year, to understand things better, to clear the exam and just carry on, move on. So the whole school system is still kept there for us to clear different levels or grades and make it out into the outside world after doing higher studies. So like that, the material world is set up because we need to go through this rectificatory or rectification
Okay.
to understand the demonic qualities in ourselves, to use our willpower to become intelligent and become to go up the modes, not just work in the mode of passion, but try and be in the mode of goodness, to suffer, to realize we are suffering because we have caused someone else suffering. So much education is actually going on inside us once we become in the know of things through this spiritual knowledge. So
Mhm.
much education is going on. It's just that we don't have the time to sit down and stop and realize it on a daily basis. You said you carry on, you write your diary, right? Everything you did. I think you mentioned once in your daily schedule. You write like notes of everything that you did on that day. So if we had that much time, and if we could reflect on a daily basis the kind of thoughts that have gone through us, how we make connections spiritually, I mean, how we focus on some particular memory of an experience, and if it is material, then how we overcome and understand, oh, I won't do that again. Obviously, that was not in good taste. So much. Where is this education coming from? It's coming from the Paramatma in the heart, super soul, once we basically have taken to this path,
Mm.
you know?
Mm. It's like yeah, like also the point is like repetitiveness, no, like constant repetition of
Repetition.
like the learnings and the thoughts and everything else and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's
It
a very good point.
it
Repetition is very important.
it makes like um it may at least like I recently like finished the Bhagavad Gita, and now
Yeah.
I started it again. So like I finished it 5 times now, and it's like the sixth time that I'm starting it
Wow.
again.
Wow, wow,
So
wow. Cool.
and like
Hare Krishna.
so in the sixth like so every time I started, I have this different way of doing it. So this time I'll do like I'll read the Sanskrit verses, the proper Sanskrit verses in Sanskrit. I'll read it like 3 times, and then
Uh-huh.
the English verses I'll read 3 times, and then I'll read
Uh,
the translation or synonyms, and then the translation and the purport. So I'll do like four verses like every day or something like that. I'll do,
I see.
and like every time I like started off, it's like it's so different. Like every time I started off, there's always I'm always in a different frame of mind when I start off again. Like
Uh-huh.
the scenario is the same, but I'm like, okay, again we are back in the battlefield, and the whole thing is starting again, and Arjuna's again caught up in this. But every time I started, it's the same. It feels like this, like the problems are never ending. Like the material world is like always like you feel like you've read it once and you think, oh, I already know this much, but actually you don't know. It kind of humbles you also a bit. Like it
Right,
makes you
right,
feel,
right.
it makes you feel like even after reading it this many times, I'm still like, learning something from this. So that means that there's so much for me more to go in that sense, like, trying to understand everything else and all stuff. So when even Krishna says, like, the simple verse, like, for the soul there is neither birth nor death,
Right.
nor that verse is there, chatting chapter 2 text
Yeah, yeah,
20. That was
yeah.
how many ever times if I read it, I know what he's trying to say, but to actually realize that itself is very difficult to do.
That's
And
right.
only when you get to like keep repeating it, then you sort of feel like, okay, yeah, I'm applying it in my day-to-day life, and on some small level I can kind of somewhat understand, but still not, fully there in one sense. Like,
Right,
it's
right,
still, there's
right.
still a lot more to do. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. It's a very good practice that you have of reading and rereading. And like you're saying, the sixth time for the Bhagavad Gita is fantastic. And also the realization that each time something strikes you as new. But there's so much there. There's so much in the verses and there's so much in the purports also. And like what you pointed out, that all we may hear umpteen times that the soul can't be burnt by fire, can't be withered by the wind,
With
can't
the
be
moistened by water.
for
Moistened.
water. That's right. All this we may hear, but to actually accept it is it takes time, and to the extent that we become free from material attachments, it takes time, because it's a material attachment that is preventing us from accepting this. Because the attachment to a particular person and the sorrow that comes at the sheer thought that you may lose that person is what is blocking us off from understanding that you're actually not losing him or her, because he is going to stay eternally in the form of the soul. It's that particular connection in this lifetime which we formed because of our bodily connection. Or you, Siddharth, working in a particular office, have worked with such and such friend or studied in the school for so many years, and there's a strong attachment, right? But once that connection breaks and that person is no longer there, there's naturally sorrow, lamentation.
Mm.
A fact formed, you knew him, but he's gone on to another body and that soul is eternal. So to accept that, what is blocking us is this material attachment and affection. See?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not something that can happen overnight. One has to really go through the process. It doesn't happen suddenly. Go through the process, then Krishna gives insights from within the heart. It So many things are there.
Yeah. It's always
Okay,
yeah.
shall
Yeah.
we move on to the next verse,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
Sanjaya? Sanjaya is speaking now.
Yeah.
Okay, Sanjaya is saying this too for the benefit of the blind king Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya
Sanjaya
Uvacha.
vacha
Yeah.
etat shrutva vachanam keshavasya
Shrutva vachanam keshavasya
kritanjaliर्वेपमना
kritanjalirvepamana kiriti
kiriti namaskritva bhuya
mana
evaha
kiriti
krishnam sa
Krishna
gadgadam
Sagat Sagat
pitapitaha
Adam Pita
pranamya
Pita Pranamya
Sanjaya uvacha
Pranamya. Okay. Uvacha Etat
etat
Shrutva
shrutva
Vachanam
vachanam
Shrutva
keshavasya
Vachanam
kritanjali
Keshavasya Kritanjalir
वेपमाना कीर्ति
Kiriti
नमस्कृत्वा भूया एवाह कृष्णं
Namaskar
सागद्गदं बीतबीताः प्रणम्य सञ्जय उवाच
Sanjay Vacha
एतत् श्रुत्वा
Etat
वचनं केशवास्य
Vachanam Keshavasya
कृताञ्जलिर्वेपमानः किरीति
Kritanjali
नमस्कृत्वा भूय एवाह कृष्णं सागद्गदं बीताः प्रणम्य
Okay. Okay, translation. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, O king, after hearing these words from the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the trembling Arjuna, trembling, this Vepamanaha is trembling. Arjuna offered obeisances with folded hands again and again. He fearfully spoke to Lord Krishna in a faltering voice as follows. So this is like a detailed account of Arjuna's response being conveyed to Dhritarashtra, who can't say anything, by Sanjaya, who's far away and not on the battlefield, but who's given special vision by an arrangement made by Vedavyas. So the purport, as we have already explained, because of the situation created by the universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna became bewildered in wonder. Thus, he began to offer his respectful obeisance to Krishna again and again. And with faltering voice, he began to pray, not as a friend, but as a devotee in wonder. Actually, if you see the videos that are coming out of Himachal Pradesh now, particularly Shimla, you get some sense of what it must be like to see the universal form, how overwhelming and awe-inspiring and frightening. Because in these videos that are on the spot by witnesses, you hear people, either it's their house that's coming down, whole hillside. Suddenly a pine tree starts to bend and people are screaming that it's going to come, in Hindi, it's coming down. And it crashes, which means it's been uprooted from the base. And then 2-3 other trees follow. And behind it, like a whole hillside, because the excessive and incessant rain has the drainage system's been messed up by thoughtless modern constructions. The drainages are all blocked. So where does the water go? It goes into the soil. It can't run out anywhere. It loosens the soil under the trees. The trees come and eventually these the whole houses, 3-story buildings are just coming crashing down. They were showing today a video of that famous toy train rail. There's this famous toy train from Kalka or somewhere to Shimla. There's a portion like 3 I'm not sure how much distance, but there's a portion where the rail is there, but the ground underneath for 30 meters has just gone away. So it's just hanging in air. It's just extraordinary. So this is after the event. But when the event or incidents are actually happening, like I said, you hear people and the Hindi walas, what they say, oh bhai sahab, dekhiye re bhai sahab. When you record it, you get some sense of what it must be to be taken completely by surprise by forces totally beyond your control, who are causing massive havoc. I mean, imagine Arjuna seeing his much revered gurus flying in like moths and insects into the mouth of the Supreme Personality, a gigantic form.
It's a
Drona.
very, it's a
Yeah,
very crazy experience for him to
crazy,
uh,
absolutely.
so go through all.
Crazy. Yeah, crazy, especially because he is not daring to even touch a hair on their head. He is full of respect for them. They are elderly. They are huge, strong, valiant warriors. I hear that they are flying like moths and insects attracted by light. Like you see them flying straight and then crashing down. Like that, they're flying into his mouth. So to get a sense of this, you see the devastation that this rain fury is causing in these unfortunate states in the north. Just again that Krishna is in control. So, what are we lamenting for? And if we can just subdue our mind and our senses and accept that certain things were not meant for me, so they didn't happen. It's like an eternal complaint of a peeve, if you like, of mine, that if only I had woken up 10 years ago to the existence of this swimming pool here, my health and my weight would have been so much under control, because I already knew swimming. Why is it that I didn't wake up until just before COVID? And then properly COVID came, another 2 years went. Then I restarted. Then my frozen shoulder came again, another 6 months went. But now I'm back on track. So it took a long time for me to accept that somehow that was not meant to happen. So now, whatever health I have and whatever is the weight issue, I just tackle it from where I am. Instead of ranting, why didn't somebody tell me? Why so many relatives? Nobody mentioned this. I was trying desperately to walk 3-5 kilometers. That is not.
Yeah, we can sometimes put a lot of we can sometimes blame ourselves also sometimes
Yeah,
about for a
blame
lot of
us.
issues, like, but actually the thing is that like that's why it says, like the mind can either be like your best friend or your worst enemy, like can be
Absolutely.
like so you can decide whether you want to like if you want to listen to like uplifting things every day, then you can listen to uplifting things. But if you listen to like negative things, if you listen to the news, or if
So
you listen to some negative things, if you listen, your mind gets absorbed in that, and then
right,
you'll start thinking in that way basically. So yeah, just focus focus on the good, focus on Krishna, and
right,
then
exactly.
yeah,
And just
then
accept that certain things were not meant to be. So no use in my case. Like I gave this example of cursing and bite my
like
grudge.
I have a friend also who's like, what do you say, like he constantly like most of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the times he'll be like oh, what am I doing in my life? I'm doing this, I'm not doing that, so like I want to tell him, like, okay, just, you don't want to like also force, like tell somebody, like, yeah, I listen to this, this podcast, I read the Bhagavad Gita, I do this. You don't want to tell people, like,
It
that you're
won't be
doing this.
taken well.
It won't
Yeah,
be taken. Nobody likes to be like forced to
that's
listen to
right.
something
Force
that they don't
fed.
want.
Yeah,
Nobody wants
force
that.
fed.
So, but at the same time, it's like you feel like, that you're dealing with your issues by praying to Krishna, by like, and somehow Krishna is helping you in that sense, and you just want the other person also to like just feel okay,
Benefit.
to
Yeah,
benefit in some way at least. But yeah, like it's like it's sad because you can't do anything about, you
can't
can't
do
do it.
anything. That's true unless there is a slight sense of even curiosity that how come you don't feel the same way that I feel, and how did you manage to get out of. And there's even a slight, you have to wait patiently, there's a slight sense of genuine curiosity or inquiry that oh, how come you don't feel so desperate, or your life seems to have changed, or how then you can give some clue. It is
Hmm.
hopeless trying to force feed someone who is not willing to open their mouth.
Hmm.
Okay, so shall we stop here because it's 6 o'clock
Yeah,
now, and we
sure.
are going to resume next week from verse 36.
Okay.
Right? All right. Thank
Okay.
you. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna. Take
Hare
care.
Krishna.
Hare